This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good morning, my Real News Media TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and productive day. And in the news this morning for December 17, 2022, 11-year-old girl and a man suspected to have drowned in Clarendon. The Clarendon police are investigating the suspected drowning deaths of an 11-year-old girl and a man at the Thomas River in Chapeltown, Clarendon on Friday. The police have identified the child as Brianna Sindale, a student of DuPont Primary in St. Andrew, and a 34-year-old Rima Douglas, a warehouse operator who was visiting from the United Kingdom. The incident happened around 1:30 p.m., the police say. Man shot and killed in New Kingston. Brazen gunmen continued to rain terror in the corporate area as they shot and killed a man while he was in his vehicle on Trinidad Crescent in New Kingston on Friday evening. The incident, which happened around 7 p.m., sent shoppers and workers scampering for cover. Reports are that men on bikes pulled up beside the man who was in a Nissan motor vehicle and peppered him with bullets and then sped off, making good their escape. Police were alerted and found the man slumped over the steering wheel. The man, who is yet to be identified, was pronounced dead. The Corporate Communications Unit, the information arm of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, confirmed the shooting. A man who admitted to killing a so-called Don in St. Catherine during a beating was on Thursday cleared of a murder charge and freed by the corporate area gun court after a judge ruled that the witnesses brought by the Crown were not credible and accepted his claim of self-defense. The man, who had been charged on an indictment containing 4 counts, illegal possession of firearm, murder, shooting with intent, and wounding with intent, had been in custody since 2016 for the killing. The Crown's case revolved around the 2 main witnesses who gave evidence that on the day of the incident, the former accused was on Job Lane in Spanish Town with several individuals. According to one witness, he was at the location when he saw the accused walking along the lane stepping hard. The witness testified that the former accused looked at him and said, "Prida playa," then walked towards where the alleged area don was sitting in his car, reached into his waist, produced a gun, and fired. According to the witness, he started running. The second witness also gave the court a similar account. However, the accused in his own defense gave sworn evidence, telling the court that the night before the shooting, he was called by one of the witnesses to go to the lane to speak with the don. He said when he got to the lane, he was beaten by several men and was told by the don that the beating was his punishment for molesting his own niece. According to the man, he returned home after the beating and woke up to find his bicycle missing. He said he made a report to the police about his bicycle before heading to the hospital to get a treatment for injuries sustained the night before. He claimed that upon returning home, he was again summoned and told that the don wanted to speak with him. According to the former accused, when he went, he was told that he was summoned because he had taken their names to the police. He said he was again beaten. He claimed that during the beating, he disarmed one of the men and started to fire shots in his own defense and ended up killing the don. On Thursday, Supreme Court Judge Justice Leighton Pusey, in handing down the ruling, said this is a case in which the major facts are not in contest. He does not contest that he took a gun and fired and killed the so-called don. He does not deny that he was firing shots. His defense is that he was acting in reasonable self-defense. So the issues in this matter are very narrow. The question of the credibility of the Crown's witnesses, and even if I accept the evidence, whether or not he was acting in self-defense, Justice Pusey said. In noting the arguments made by defense attorney Tamika Harris during a no-case submission, Justice Pusey, who had ruled that there was no case to answer, said he had found that the witnesses were not credible. "I did not believe that these are persons upon whom I could rely," Justice Pusey stated, pointing to what he said were inconsistencies in their statements that made both witnesses dubious. According to the judge, he found the accused a more credible witness of the incident than the actual witnesses against him. In declaring that the former accused man's assertion and self-defense was accepted, Justice Pusey pronounced him not guilty on all 4 counts. The court found that you acted in self-defense. You are free to go, Justice Pusey told the relieved-looking man, who sat for several moments before exiting the dock. Criminals relinquishing political divide over fighting crime, says Holness. Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Friday argued that criminals are taking pleasure in the political division over the approach towards tackling crime, and suggested that when the current state of emergency expires, the government will give serious thought to implementing another. The existing SOE comes to an end in a few days. The SOEs have been very effective in reducing murders. There are those who are critical of the SOEs. There are those who are, for various reasons, would like to see that there is cooperation on both sides of the political aisle in the fight against the crime. I too would want to see cooperation and support, he said, while addressing a social housing program handover ceremony in Knockpatrick, southwest of Mandeville on Friday. We will continue to hold out hopes that there can be a bipartisan approach to solving crime, but in the middle of this organized criminal activity, where the criminals relish whenever there is a divide as to how we should treat with crime, they are continuing their criminal acts. They are robbing and killing and maiming innocent people, he said. We can't stop our efforts to protect you. We have to keep on persevering, added Holness. The Prime Minister's comments were in reference to the opposition's recent stance to not support the extension of SOEs on what it said were constitutional grounds. Holness suggested that the government would reimpose the security measure when it expires next week. I want to give you the assurance that when the SOEs expire, that the government will seriously and carefully consider the application of a new state of public emergency to ensure that we can save more lives. We want you to be able to enjoy the Christmas season, and we want to see you in 2023. So we are going to do everything possible to ensure that, he told his audience. Holness pointed to recent crimes in Manchester, including a double murder and armed robberies. I ask you to just cast your mind back a few years ago, and you would immediately recall that there were similar incidents that occurred not just in Manchester, but in Clarendon and in St. Elizabeth, where organized crime gangs carried out certain activities to include robberies, sometimes very brazen in broad daylight, extortion and housebreaking, he said. Soldiers, he added, have been deployed to increase surveillance and operations in Manchester. There are organized criminal gangs operating right across Jamaica that are engaged in these activities, and coming closer to Christmas, our intelligence is showing that these activities are increasing, which is why we decided to include the parish of Manchester in our security operations, he said. I am aware that the Jamaica Defense Force has increased its presence and its operations in the parish. Certainly, they have been conducting exercises within the town of Mandeville itself. I want to make it clear to the criminals that we are going to be going full force against them, and I want to give the law-abiding peaceful citizens of Manchester the assurance that we are going to keep you safe and secure, particularly in this Christmas season, added Holness. Fire leaves job uncertainties at New Budget Supplies Hardware. A fire at New Budget Supplies Hardware Limited on Hagley Park Road in St. Andrew on Friday night has caused extensive damage to the warehouse and offices. Owner Robert Dabdoob said he was made aware of the fire shortly before 9 p.m. He said the security guards who were on the property when the fire started say the blaze began in a storeroom. No one was hurt in the fire. Dabdoob said the building was not insured as that process was still underway. It's very unfortunate, but we just have to deal with it, Dabdoob said in reacting to the fire. He said he was expecting to be able to have a partial reopening of business on Saturday. However, he disclosed that some of the approximately 50 employees might have to be let go following an assessment. He is also awaiting the fire brigade's investigation into the cause of the fire. Alleged cop shooter remanded until next year. A man who was charged for the brazen daylight shooting of a policeman in front of the Central Police Station last month was remanded in the Kingston and the St. Andrew Parish Court on Tuesday. Shamel Steve Cullum, otherwise called Ratto, a 22-year-old resident of Text Lane in Kingston, is to return to the court on January 10 next year. Callum, who was arrested by police a day after the November 1, 2022 incident, is charged with wounding with intent and illegal possession of a firearm. Allegations are that the cop was riding near the police station in downtown Kingston when he was attacked and shot in his back. He reportedly fell from his motorbike and his attackers fled. He was rushed to the hospital where he was admitted. Following intense investigations, Callum was arrested, interviewed, placed on an identification parade, and subsequently charged. Callum had first appeared before the court on November 21, 2022, and was remanded until he appeared again on Tuesday. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.